Our last presentation for this segment of the meeting today is going to be presented by Dr. Janowak, Christopher. He's joining us from Cincinnati, Ohio, and he's going to talk to us about CIID. Hello, Chris.
All right. Thank you very much for having me. Let me see if I can share my presentation slides here. Let's see. All right. Are those showing up for everyone?
Yes, they look great.
Excellent. So I am Christopher Janowak. I'm one of the trauma surgeons at the University of Cincinnati and a member of the CIID committee. And we're going to give you a small update and a little bit of a boost for the Chest Injury International Database for the fall of 2021. For those of you who don't know, this is a database that we have been developing over the past several years, initially used for the non-flail study that has gone through a number of revisions. And we're trying to build a highly injury-specific database where we can essentially explore the nature of chest wall injury. Over the past 2 years, there have been consistent and steady growth of the database. We recently crossed the 1,000 patient mark in October. And to put this in a little bit of perspective, all prospective trials for rib plating in the past 15 to 20 years account for about 500 patients, which is also including the control. And so here we sit at the 1,000 patient mark with essentially the largest prospective multi-institutional chest injury specific database. We continue to have significant growth over time. We have 10 participating sites contributing both operative as well as non-operative patients with significant chest injuries. This slide here is just a little bit of a mix to show you a little bit about what the CIID looks like. On one hand, you can see some of our demographic information. You can see some of the unique features such as our anatomic survey, which allows us to show not only where a specific location of an injury is, but also the nature of the injury, building off of the Society's work to establish the taxonomy. And then the database itself is highly granular. It encompasses every single day that the patient is in the hospital, all of the analgesia that the patient has, all of the vital sign parameters, all of the complications, all of the different surgeries that they're undergoing, as well as follow-up data. Currently, we are tracking over 190 separate data points collected on each patient, many of them unique to respiratory and chest anatomy as well as physiology. The original database and data dictionary as well as software was developed, like I said, in conjunction with the non-flail study. In the past year and a half, as we have started to bring this into a more mainstream and get more sites on board, we've been using version 1.1 essentially of the database. This technical architecture allows for quality monitoring processes. It allows for tracking radiographic changes from one study to another. It allows people entering the data to start to use automation of data input to decrease the barrier to being able to enter information into this database. It allows us to provide site level education to each of our participating sites. And now we're starting to experiment and develop our system-wide as well as local reports to start to be able to develop an ability to use it as both a research as well as a PI database. We have started to look into what version 2 is going to be. We're taking ideas and concepts, looking specifically at different ways to map data. Essentially, our data entry is growing. The software is a living, growing, and evolving product. The complex task of building a database for the future includes a lot of fixes, a lot of maintenance, and ironing out the barriers to entry. But as our database experience matures, so too will our ability to forecast the needs and expectations of this database for the future. Recently, as you can see, we're starting to look into what is going to be needed to bring this into the next level, essentially out of what would be a late beta stage into a more widespread acceptance. The database itself was built for research and process improvement. The nature and the design of the database is to capture expert-reviewed information that can help to elucidate what I oftentimes refer to as the boundary conditions of chest wall injury. That is, what is normal? What is expected? What are the competing inputs that drive outcomes? And what can make an institution unique such that we can all learn and benefit from that experience? Essentially, it is the culmination of the past 30 years emphasis on big data, and it's built to capture the inputs that are ultimately going to drive outcomes. And it's the granular outcomes that I think are going to be the most exciting, most interesting, beyond coarse things such as mortality or even readmissions. The database itself synthesizes a wide range of inputs, allowing us to scan across historical items, demographic complexities, associated injuries, patient response to injury, detailed anatomic changes, surgeries, and the daily changes both in and out of the hospital. It is a clean, prospective database, and as our leader, Dr. Dobin, would say repeatedly, it's a garbage in, garbage out sort of proposition, and we are aiming to have no garbage in, so that we have no garbage output when this starts to be mined. Given that we've crossed the 1,000 patient mark and we're continuing to grow at an excellent pace, the CIID now has critical mass of data to begin to be mined for information that was previously out of reach. Things that the National Trauma Database can't give you, things that local databases, no matter how well thought out and well put together and how long those local databases exist, just can't give you beyond that local and regional sort of findings. It is uniquely positioned to be harnessed for both research as well as process improvements. When you go to our website, you will first see this splash across the front page, and you'll see the CIID tab right here. And so it's probably a good idea to talk about what does it mean or what does it look like to join or to look into the process more. So by clicking on that tab, it will bring you over to, it will bring you over to the splash page, and let me see if I can switch to my other screen here. Are you seeing my other screen? Not yet?
No, not yet, Chris.
Promoting to Bennett.
Here it is. All right. Here we come up on the home page for the Chest Wall Injury Society. You click on the CIID database, and it brings up this splash page here. You can see some nice pictures of some very important people, track our progress, a little behind right here. But most importantly, you can get things like the expectations. And here we have a PDF where we've laid out just exactly what we're interested in insofar as what a site that's going to be contributing to the CIID is going to be able to do. It gives a good idea of how long it takes to enter each one of these patients. It gives a good idea of what our expectations are in terms of data quality and what we expect to be entered over the course of time, and how to be a good participant, and also the expectations that you should have of us over the course of time about what you're going to be able to get out of being a member, such as those site-specific data dumps, ability to research through your own patients in a highly granular way, track your own outcomes. And then as we grow, we're hopefully going to get to the point where we were being able to develop a way, not so much to compare against other like sites, but to give ourselves an idea of what it means to be outside or inside of those boundary conditions. At this splash page, we also have the ability to request a startup packet so that you can send your information to us to look more closely. But the one that I wanted to show you most, and I'm not sure if I can pull this up, we're going to try right here, is the test system. And it doesn't work on Safari. It works on other web browsers such as Google Chrome, but I was having difficulty pulling that up for my own reasons just a second ago. When you click on that, you come to this splash page and you go to the login, and we have a generic login and password that is going to bring you in essentially to the sandbox. All of the stuff that's entered in here is just generic throwaway information, but it allows you to try your hand to see whether or not you'd be able to become a member of the CIID. And so you can try adding a new patient, seeing how long it would take to input data, the type of data that we're able to do, how it looks when we're talking about adding in the anatomic specific data to our database, what it looks like to add in the operative specific type data as well, and the data points that we're gathering, as well as what it looks like to start to add patient-specific daily outcomes over the course of a hospitalization. And again, it is pretty daunting to look at. This was something that I played with for several months before trying out or joining on as one of the sites. And our hope is that over the course of the next year or two, we're able to bring more sites to continue adding to our already very good data and exponentially grow the amount of patients that we're ultimately going to be able to mine for all sorts of fantastic questions that only need to be thought up by the members of our society. And at that, I'd be happy to take any sort of questions and answer anything that you might have about our CIID.
Chris, hi, it's Andy. I don't know if you guys can see me. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Great. Okay. So thank you so much. And your support and what you've done for the committee is really amazing. I just wanted to take 2 seconds just to clarify a couple of things, and maybe you can comment on too. Number one is we really are encouraging those sites that are becoming collaborative centers to join, because it is one of the ways to meet some of your criteria for being a collaborative center. Secondly, in order to get the data out of CIID, you must be a member of CIID. And that's because if you're going to take the time to participate, it's really important that we make sure that everybody who's putting the data in is also getting the data out. And then the final thing I'd love for you to comment about is some of the, in version 2.0, which went live the other day, is the ability to link a research project to the data in CIID, so that if you want to do a research project and there's additional data that is not contained within CIID, some of the strategies that we've thought of to do that.
Yeah, no, those are all fantastic points. We're really trying to make this a very open and inclusive database, and also trying to make the effort itself rewarding, both in terms of educational opportunities, as well as being able to look back on how you have been doing as a site. So a very important point right there about being able to get data out of it is kind of a give some, take some sort of proposition that we're offering here. Insofar as the research linking, that was something that I actually hadn't had a chance to take a look at. You sent that out just a little while ago, and I've been a little bit behind. But we do have one of our developers working hand in hand with us every meeting, helping to refine, helping to build into the database, which really does make it a living document where if we're having issues, both in terms of inputting data, but also in terms of exporting data, we have someone available that helped to build that software itself, help to navigate these sort of things, and also design fixes as well as strategies to lower our barrier for being inclusive.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So what we did do is there is a link that will allow CIID data to be linked to external REDCap databases, essentially. So if there is data, rather than trying to manipulate CIID, which could be a big burdensome thing, if a cryo study is going on, there will be an opportunity for you to flag patients within CIID and link those patients with unique identifiers over to your REDCap database, so that when you pull data from CIID, we can conglomerate that data. And again, having the flexibility of working with a small startup company to be able to manipulate this. And I think as Dr. Janowak had presented, there's multiple people on this committee. All of them represent users of CIID. So if you do have questions, or what it's like if you want to try to manipulate something, there's a balance between being something that everybody's going to use versus just one site's going to use, that we try to strive the line on. But I hope that people see that we're trying to build this as flexible as possible throughout the years as we grow.
Christopher and Andy, thank you so much. Appreciate your efforts.